Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today is Saturday and I am a little sniffly, but I'm feeling good. I've got a lot of stuff to show you. Lots of fun as always happened this week. I felt like it was not a big knitting week. I feel like the past couple weeks have been really busy. Actually, I'm gonna take these off because they're really dirty and I can't find a cloth. I feel like the past couple weeks have been really busy. They have been busy. Like, I have done church music stuff has been like kind of bonkers because it's Lent now and there's more services, and I have been in DC a lot. But yeah, it's one of those things where you like get through the week and you're like, oh, I did a lot this week with knitting. Like, so one of the things that doing more church music, let's say ending my sabbatical, that's the way Monica puts it. One of the things that ending my sabbatical has taught me, because I spend a lot of time driving and I spend a lot of time singing now at St. Paul's K Street, is that like I need to sort out my own priorities because I have less time to do stuff that I normally do. So I have to decide what matters to me, which is actually really helpful. And that's a piece of advice that a lot of people in my type of work, like I'm an academic advisor, success coach. Like I work in academic affairs. I work with students who are not doing well or they are doing well and they just want some advice on how to do better. I'm a coach basically. One of the things that lots of people will say in my kind of line of work is actually the busier you are, the more you'll get done in terms of your schoolwork because you have less time to do it and you become much more efficient. So I will say I have a couple students that I know who are like extremely busy. They do lots of stuff. They are involved in extracurriculars. They do internship stuff. They shout out doctors, whatever. Most of these people are pre-med or whatever. They take a lot of classes, like difficult classes, you know, more credits than most students. And especially the ones who do like theater stuff or music, like who are just quite busy. They have the best grades of any students that I know. And it's like, oh, okay. So it turns out that like, having a really specific time to do something actually gives you more kind of drive to get it done. As I say to students, homework and studying expand to fill the space that you have to give it. And so it will be better if you give it less time. If you constrict your time, it will be more, you will get more done in that time often than you would get in the whole day if you just wiled away and said, well, I'll just be kind of blasé about it and like watch TikTok for 3 hours and then do this. It's like, no. Take an hour, get it all done, then go do other stuff. Also, students who are busier, generally, if they're busy, they're filling their time with things that make them happy, and that also helps students succeed. So if you're like a parent of a future college student or something, that's some advice for your kids. Or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, I did get a lot done this week. Maybe it's like there were a bunch of things that like got finished. That might be part of it, but whatever. Okay, let's start with knitting. So I finished the hat. This is the first thing I'm going to show you. I finished this hat that I just kind of started for the Woolly Thistle colorwork cowl that I had planned to knit for that. And I was showing you part of last weekend as I was basically up to about here. I finished this on Monday night. I didn't do it on Sunday. I didn't bring it to Washington, D.C. Here's the jog. People are always asking to see the jog. So it's right here. So you can see, you know, this X is a little wonky, but that's really easy to see from your end if you're putting the hat on. So my advice to you, not a nice sound. If you're new here, this is Voldemort, my head. Call it Voldemort because it doesn't have a nose. Okay, so you find that spot and there you go. That's the back. Just put that on the back. This is a nice longer one. I used a thicker yarn for the body of the hat, like the main color. And I find that if I use a slightly thicker yarn, and that can even just be like Jamison's Shetland Supreme, a little thicker than Jamison's 2-ply jumper weight, even though they go together. The 2-ply or the Supreme jumper weight is just the natural colors, and then the 2-ply are the dyed colors. I find that the Supreme actually is thicker. I don't find that. That's a fact. It's thicker. There's less yardage per gram or whatever. Because it's 50 gram balls, but there's like fewer yards per gram. So in the spinning world, we would say the grist is lower. Grist is yards per pound. So yeah, if you use Jamison's Shetland Supreme, I like that because you get more, you're not going to run out of that main color, and you get a little bit of a bigger hat. So my grandmother, the one who was on my channel a couple months ago, I made her a Shetland hat, and I did not use Shetland Jumperweight Supreme or something, and she was like, it doesn't cover my ears. Can you make me a new one? And so I have to make her a new one at some point. But this is my solution, is to use a slightly thicker base yarn and then use my regular jumper weight. I also will do sometimes I'll put an extra round in between like the Peary and the Star, or like I could have done that between the muckle and the Pearies. The big is called the muckle and then the small ones are called Pearies. I could have put an extra round in there too. You can sneak extra rounds. You can make the corrugated rib a little longer. So if you're worried about that, just, find a little bit of places to elongate the cap in a sneaky way. But I am a fan of this. If you want to know what colors I used, I talked about it last week. I will put this I'll put it in the Ravelry page. I'll make a Ravelry page and it'll be linked down below. So it was funny that I like couldn't find the orange that I had initially picked for this. And I was like, I just grabbed a new one because I'd picked Jamison's of Shetland Burnt Umber, but I couldn't find it. And so I just grabbed a jumper weight in like an orange, and I just found this on the floor. So this would have been slightly darker, and I think it actually would have gone better with that brown, but this doesn't matter to me. I love it. I think it's really funky. I think I'm going to give this to one of my friends in Boston. I'm going to Boston for spring break in a couple weeks. 3 weeks, I'll be in Boston. St. Patrick's Day, I fly out because that's my friend Lauren's match day. She's getting matched for residency. She just is finishing her MD, PhD, which is wild to me that we're old enough that she has 2 doctorates. Or she will when she finishes med school, which is soon. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm going to Boston to see my high school friends and a couple of other friends. I have a couple of Toronto friends who are also in Boston for a variety of reasons. One of them's a knitter, so maybe she and I will get to sit down and talk about some knitting and spinning. And then I have a church music friend from Toronto who is doing his assistantship. He's doing a 1-year assistantship at a church where a bunch of my friends from Vermont are singing, and so I'll get to go and sing with them on the Sunday, which is always fun. Can't take a Sunday off now, even if I'm on vacation. It's one of those, that's like a common thing for me. It's like I have church music friends everywhere, and if I tell them that I'll be in their city over a Sunday, if I tell them, they will be like, great, you're coming to my church. The polite ones ask, would you like to sing? But the other ones are like, great, you're coming. You're on the list. I'm drinking Earl Grey today. You can tell my voice gets fatigued easily during whatever this slight virus is. Maybe it's COVID. Every time I've had COVID, it's been like incredibly mild, and Jordan and I take turns testing, and we've both been testing negative. But it's probably just a little cold I always pick up a cold in the weight room at school. From using the weight machines. Even though I bring my own Lysol wipes, and I bring the wipe around with me, and I wipe down every single thing that anybody's hands would touch or anybody's body would touch, and I wipe the machines down. It's okay. You want things to break through to make your immune system stronger. So I wear a mask all the time. And if I'm sick, I wear a mask just in life. I mean, I would wear a mask if a student was in my office no matter what. Students don't usually wear masks in my office, but I will mask. Just because most of them live in dorms or they live with families or something, and you want to protect yourself and you want to protect them if I have anything. So anyway, yeah, I'm a little hoarse. It's not going to make this episode shorter, I guarantee. It should, but it won't. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is my Metamorphic Sweater. So I'm knitting the Metamorphic Sweater by Andrea Mowry in all hand spun. So this is what it looks like. I did turn it inside out and I blocked the body. So this is a sweater that you knit. This is inside out. So you knit it on the knit side, and like the plain stockinette side. So that's the side that's out when you're knitting. And then these little The columns here are just slip stitches. There's one down here, one on the back, then they're down the sides, and they're also down the sleeves. So I had this, I won't go into too much detail in this because you can watch the last few episodes if you want some like of a more intricate recap of like how I made this yarn. So this is all hand spun. So the main yarn, or the colorful yarn, is a 1 ply of a BFL that I got at Rhinebeck, and 1 ply is Black and White Jacob. And so I only had 1 skein of that, and it was approximately a DK weight at about 100 grams. I don't know. Anyway, I made another one with Black and White Jacob and mixed BFL that I actually dyed myself. So it's not going to be matching, but it will be murky, rainbowy, same colors here. So I'm interested to see how that goes. The other yarn, which you can see at the bottom there, is just a marled New Zealand border Leicester with a white charolais. I like the reverse stockinette effect when the yarn's hand spun and it's a little nubbly. Like this was some of my earlier hand spun, so it's not super even, but if you turn it inside out like this, it's harder to tell. And it looks really cool. I'm a huge fan of it. It's kind of cropped. It has a nice deep neck line. The short rows are actually in the neck ribbing on the back, which I thought was a really smart idea. So kudos to Andrea Mowry for thinking of that. I think that's really smart. Excuse me. What else? Yeah, I think this is fun. Again, I washed it. The something in this yarn, I think it's the border Leicester. I'm like very allergic to it. And when I'm allergic to wool, it's not a skin problem. It's actually like asthmatic. My mouth gets really dry. If there's like a lot of, I think it's lanolin. I think I'm just like allergic to lanolin, which is kind of sad. But if wool is like, the more under processed the wool, the drier my mouth gets. Sometimes I cough a little bit, but not very much. Only if I'm spinning it and then the stuff is flying everywhere, then I will start coughing. And I sometimes just put a mask on when I'm spinning to avoid that, and it really helps. Get a cough drop and a mask, and I just spin away. Probably should get an air purifier for my house. But yeah, this is what it looks like up close. You can see there's lots of inconsistencies. I don't care. I think that's great. You know, people's yarn starts off inconsistent when they start spinning, and I still get inconsistencies sometimes, as you'll see when I show you some of the hand spun I have for this week. But at the end of the day, knitting with it will teach you what you like and don't like, what you can put up with, what it looks like. It's like a challenge of like how to make it work in something that's like as non-noticeable as possible, or you're just creating something where you're making the you know, uneven bits just part of it, and that's fun too. So I love that. And I will probably be, I don't know if I'll get to start at the sleeves this week. I am actually going on a trip this week for Thursday through Saturday to New Mexico for some family stuff. So I will be bringing knitting. I just don't know what yet. I'll probably bring a pair of socks, and I'll probably bring my Fair Isle cowl that I'll show you, because I'd like to get a lot of that done. I have to fly there. So it would be nice to just like work on that on the planes and then like a layovers and stuff. So yeah, I'll probably bring that. Okay, so that's one thing. I also finished my hand spun socks. I wrote a blog post about these, so I showed them last time. These are my Catherine Worland socks, which is a pattern that will come out sometime in like April or May, probably. May seems, maybe June. I think I'm gonna do socks every 2 months. I'm gonna release a pattern. So these will probably come out in May or June, sometime in the summer. They're great for texture. It's a texture pattern that's great for like a variegated yarn. And so this is my first like proper sock weight 3-ply. I really wanted to learn how to do a proper 3-ply with skinny enough singles. This is a Nest Fiber Club color on their Polworth base from February. The colorway is called Love Struck. I spun it fractally. Lots of fun here. I really enjoy these. And these are for our office cleaning lady, Sheila, Miss Sheila just retired. So she will be coming back to visit, and I made her some socks because she always asks me about my socks, and she said she wanted to buy some, and I was like, nope, I'm just gonna make them for you. Don't you dare try and pay me. So Miss Sheila, who was ready. She was just like, I'm tired. She was always tired. And I think she deserves to put her feet up and have some nice wool socks. So you can read more about the process of spinning these and my whole like goal setting of why I think it's important to set spinning goals on my blog at some point. Hopefully already that's up, but I can't promise you that. I gotta take pictures of these and then I can post it. So that's fun. What else have I been knitting? Oh, a lot. Okay, so I'm working, as probably some of you know, I'm working more like on, I want to say quality, not quantity, which is like, yeah, that's it. It's process, not product, which is, I just saw the title of one of Katie Greenbean's latest episodes on their podcast. I don't know if Katie uses, what pronouns Katie uses. So I'm going to be safe and say they. Anyway, Katie's title was process over product. And that's kind of the like mantra for me, or the phrase I'm using about 2023 is like vulnerability and process and slowing down and that kind of thing. Oh, by the way, before I forget, this is a vanilla sweater knitted in farm yarns from Vermont. This is actually worsted weight. I didn't modify the pattern at all. I just knitted the same vanilla sweater pattern, but I used worsted weight, so I modified the needle size, but that pattern is really versatile for a variety of weights of yarn. So I would recommend the Woolly Thistles vanilla sweater if you would love a just plain crew neck pattern. And I'm just wearing a blue t-shirt under it, but I do like the pop of blue at my little cuffs and collar. I think it's fun. You can see. Fun idea for a sweater. Neutral colors, stripes, and then a pop of color at the end points, collar, cuffs, hem. We'll see. I got a lot of stripes that I would like to knit this year, a lot of striped things. I actually have one that I'm about to tell you about. Excuse me. But yeah, process over product. And for me, part of that is like the spinning takes, if I want to knit with hand spun, I have to spin the yarn, which takes like plenty of time in and of itself just to kind of get that. I have to, sometimes I dye the fiber and I prep it and then I spin it and then I have to like finish the skeins properly and then I have to knit. So that takes longer. I don't know, just knitting what I want to knit a lot of the time, like the awareness of that, like what am I trying to achieve here? What do I want to do? What do I want to wear? What do I want to add to my wardrobe? What do I want to knit for others? Spending time thinking about others and like the things that they've asked me, like people in my life who are special, they've asked me to knit for them. Like that's a big part of my 2023 and probably will go into 2024. But, so I have more whips on, like I have a usual number of whips. I don't know if I said this before. Monica always has very few whips because she's a really busy person. And the busier I get, the more I think I wish I had fewer whips. And so I'm trying to finish lots of stuff in the process of like also working through these bigger projects and trying to keep kind of like a few projects on the needles, but not like an overwhelming number. And that way, if I want to cast something on, I can. As you'll see, I did do a bit of an impulse cast on this week because we do sometimes do that. I finished a bunch of things. And so I was like, okay, I can handle an impulse cast on. That's fine. Excuse me. So I finished these mittens, which I had, these are wet. That's why they look weird. These are the Snowdrift mittens by Wool and Pine. I finished, the first one I knitted, I think they're too small, but anyway, I knitted the first one in December and then I just finished. The second one I had all the ribbing done, which was good because it's a long cuff and you fold it. They have a funny kind of a flat top. And this one is the first one, the thumb is much smaller. I made the thumb bigger on the other one and it actually fits like a normal mitten, and I may go back and like undo this thumb, pick up more stitches and then re-knit it so that the mittens fit properly. But I think the gauge was a little too, I just used needles that were slightly too small, but it's fun. Jordan said she thinks you should put a picture of something in here. Looks like a photo frame. I think they're fun. This was one of the ways I was like, I'm tricking myself into getting back into cables, and this was fun. I can, it's easy to get through for me, I'm quick, I'm a fast knitter. So it's easier for me to finish the hand of this, like the entire mitten, in like an evening. So I had one left and I just did it. This is the second one that I did with a slightly larger thumb. I did this one just on Thursday evening. I was like, this is what we're doing. Jordan was cooking, got home from work, started knitting. Finished most of it by the time we ate dinner. Then we went out and postered the neighborhood with her art comedy posters, and then I came back and finished it. So, sorry, I'm not holding it still. This was a hand spun that I made in November from John Arbin. This is the Viola Merino. They are actually discontinuing this yarn, but they still sell the tops if you would like to buy the top. This colorway is called Aquarius. It is a beautiful teal. I have a couple of John Arbin teals in my life recently. I have another one to show you in a minute of another handspun project. But I'm glad these are done. Out of the way, I can put them on the gift pile for someone who has smallish hands because, like I said, one of the thumbs is kind of small. So maybe I'll fix that. Okay. Yeah, lots of stuff, but I'm working through it quickly. Okay, the Maddie cardigan. This I have made some progress on. I finished the body. Maybe I showed you the finished body already, but then I blocked it. I blocked this body. Maybe I didn't show it because it was probably wet last weekend. It was probably in the blocking bucket. So I finished the body and I started the sleeve. So did this basically at trivia the other night. This much of the sleeve. This is my Biche Bouche cardigan, Maddie cardigan by Kristen Drysdale. All the excuse me, pattern information will be linked in the show notes. Yeah. Maybe I'll put the patterns all in the corners. That'd be fun in the cards. Because I can only do 5 cards, so I stopped doing them for the last couple episodes. But maybe I'll put patterns. Let's see, Metamorphic. Oh, I'm not even gonna have 5 patterns, so that's fine. I'll put my patterns as cards if I can remember and figure that out. Yeah, so there's that. I love this pattern. It's beautiful. Like, it's like the original was yellow and white. It looks like sunflowers. It's really pretty. You can get this yarn at the Woolly Thistle. It's just Biche Bouche Le Petit Lamb's wool. This is very light blue and blue turquoise gray or something. I've had it in my stash for years, and I finally decided to knit it, and I'm really enjoying how lightweight it is, but how woolly it is. Getting through this first sleeve. This was also something I considered bringing to Albuquerque because it was like vanilla, and it's so lightweight. I was like, well, I'm with my family. It's a good time for social knitting. I can get a bunch of the sleeve done. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I always have socks with me, so I feel like I'll bring socks, but we'll see. This is like a larger thing to bring than like a small cowl, but like there's less yarn. With the Fair Isle cowl, there's a lot of yarn involved. So I'm just plugging away at this. This is like my social vanilla knitting. Trying to get it done in the next few weeks. I don't know. I don't have deadlines, so it'll get done when it gets done, and then I'll go to the next vanilla project that's sitting upstairs because there's more than one. Sure, the Metamorphic Sweater is also vanilla. Essentially, you're just striping it, so maybe I'll finish the Maddie cardigan and then I'll do this and then yeah. But okay, so one of the things that is hard for me is to decide like what to knit. I've got a lot of whips. What do I want to knit? Do I just follow my instincts, or do I, every night when I come home and I say, what am I gonna knit? Like, a lot of people have different opinions on this. Like, some people like they want to finish, they have one whip at a time, so they just come work on that whip. Some people have lots and they like let the spirit move them to knit whatever they want. I would say I've tried a lot of strategies, like as someone who's often had a lot of whips, and I like there's a yarn store in Ontario called the Little Red Mitten, and they have a YouTube channel that's great. The ladies who run that store they're really fun. They do lots of like fun knit-alongs and challenges. And even back like 2 years ago, they would always talk about like they have a lot of whips. They always have a lot of whips. And how do you deal with this? So they do like 100-day challenges where they don't cast on anything from like first 100 days of the year, and they just finish whips. So I actually did that last year for a month or so because I had a lot of whips, and it worked. I got a lot of things done. So that's helpful if you want to do something like that. But now I feel like I have like a lot of things on the needles and they're all more complicated. And so I was just watching them the other day and they were saying, now we're kind of like doing this thing where you pick like 2 whips to work on for the week. And you have, there's 2, so you can choose between 2. And then at the end of the week, you reevaluate and you say, do I want to, or maybe you finish one and you bring another one into the whip rotation for that week. But then at the end of the week, you say, do I want to keep working on this or do I want to give it a timeout for a week or 2? So I think that's kind of fun to kind of give yourself, like, then you really see some progress, even if it's a really long-term project. You see more progress if you kind of work at it for like a whole week. So that's something that I've been thinking about. Like, I don't often go for a whole week on something because I can get bored, but I'll go for like 2 or 3 days now on one thing, and just kind of like to see lots of progress on that thing before I move to another whip. So I've decided that last night I was like, oh, I want to work on my Fair Isle cowl that I've been not really neglecting too much, but a bit. Did I finish the 3rd row? Okay, so I can snap that, yeah. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. So last night I worked on this. This is something that I'll publish later in the year. This is my Bonnie cowl. It's named after someone named Bonnie that I'm knitting it for. This is my 2nd iteration of this particular cowl. I knitted the first one 2 years ago as just an experiment with, I was playing with colors and I loved the long cowl that I'd made by MJ Mucklestone called Cowl from Fair Isle Weekend. And I said, let me put my own motifs on that. And I did, and I loved it. And so I'm making this for a friend named Bonnie. And there's the camera. So you can kind of see there's a star, there's 4 motifs, 4 big motifs. There's an oxo, there's this, and then there's another oxo. The oxos are different. So you can see this, especially the X is very different. They're also offset. So the O here goes with the X here. Not that you'll be able to tell, especially when it's around someone's neck. And so I've done the 2nd star and now I'm into the 2nd set of oxo number 1. Yeah. So got lots done last night. Excuse me, I just sneezed. Just pause it. Got a bunch done last night. So I was like where was I? Oh, I was in the middle of this oxo last night and I was watching a movie and I got up to the top of this star this morning. I just knitted this. I was watching Disenchanted, which is the sequel to Enchanted, which is a movie from like 2007 that was really goofy. That I was probably like too old to love Enchanted because I was like 13 or 14 when it came out, but I loved it. Idina Menzel was in it, so of course I loved it. She didn't even sing in the first one. She was just like, she wasn't a villain. She was just kind of like the dad's girlfriend who like they had to like find a way to like get rid of her as a character. But they kept her in it, and then in this one she actually sings a bunch, and of course she does because Enchanted, the first movie, came out before Frozen. But like, diehard Broadway fans like me knew many things about her. But like now kids all know her as Elsa, like she's Elsa from Frozen. And so of course they had to let her sing and they had to make her animated and they gave her this song that's great. It was like halfway between Let It Go and Defying Gravity. And they actually kept, one of the lyrics was like, let it glow. And I was like, wow, this is like not subtle Disney, but it was really good. Anyway, it was very cute. And I thought it was an interesting social commentary on, relative morality. And I won't get too much into that, but Disenchanted is on Disney Plus, and you can watch it if you like Disney movies. And Amy Adams. I think Amy Adams is like, I mean, I don't want to say that like, I don't want to like, this is like kind of a comment that is very subjective, but like she was much younger in the first Enchanted movie, and it was kind of like clear that, what they did was they were like, actually not just her, all of the cast, because they have all the same cast. Like that came out like 15 years ago and more than 15 years ago now, maybe 16 years ago. So like all these actors have aged 16 years, but they made it seem like they only aged like 5 years, maybe 6 years. So that was a bit unrealistic. But I don't want to say like, oh, they looked really old. They were obviously much older, which was a bit like comical at times, but like the cast was great. That Maya Rudolph was in it. She was really funny. Anyway, they did it well, but it was cute, but it was for, I don't know. Anyway, it's for children, but I enjoyed it. So yeah, I was working on this while I was watching that, and that was fun. I'm not halfway done. I'm probably not far from being halfway done though. I'm a little worried that I'm going to run out of one of the colors, because I was like, what if I want to try and do this with one ball of all the colors, and I'm a little worried I'm going to run out of one. I have a second ball of this color. It's like the purpley light pink behind this darker purple. But I think maybe I'll make another sample and do a little shift where I don't do plain rounds of that, and see if I'm gonna have to lengthen the cowl by one. I would have to lengthen the cowl by one repeat, but I think that would distribute evenly the extra colors in a way that I could do it with one ball of each. So I'm gonna try that after I finish. If I run out of that pink, I'm gonna try another one in another colorway, which will just be fun anyway, and see if I can manage to do it in one ball of each color. So there's 8 colors, and I would like to be able to do one of each. Okay, so that's that. Hopefully I'll probably keep working on this through today, and then see how far I get. Maybe I'll just keep going. Maybe I'll bring it to New Mexico. I don't know. Again, hard to say. This is another thing I might bring to New Mexico. This is my last whip to show you, and then I have what I'm going to cast on today. Again, maybe I'll stop knitting this parallel thing today because I'm about to cast this thing on. This is an inclinations cowl that I've been threatening to cast on for ages. I did cast one on in some of my earliest hand spun, but it was too thick and I was going to run out of yarn, and I just didn't like it. It was going to be way too big. So this is Andrea Mowry's inclinations cowl. It's one of her like bandana type cowls, like the shift cowl. And this is knitted and hand spun. You can see there's 2 strands, so you're alternating colors. So one of them is color changing and one of them is not. So she knitted it in spin cycle, dyed in the wool. I wanted to knit it in complementary solid and barbapole. I've had this idea forever. I might make another one when I finish this one. Excuse me. This one I might run out of because it's not a fingering weight wool, or it's not a fingering weight yarn. It's more like a DK sport, more like a DK, honestly. I spun this a while ago, probably before I got my e-spinner. This was one of the first yarns I spun on my e-spinner. This is John Arbin Harvest Hues in the teal colorway, Blue Spruce, I think it's called. Regardless, I told you there would be more John Arbin teal. Like, these are so similar. Like, if you saw that, you would think it was knitted with this yarn, but it's not. This is made with Viola Merino. There's more heathering in this one. You can see like the blue flecks, like the green flecks. This is just plain teal merino marled with black swartblaz. Well, it's combed together with black swartblaz. Less heathering in this. Regardless, I think these two look good together. This is what, I guess, I don't know if it's really reversible. It's half fisherman's rib, so this is technically the outside. This is a very easy pattern to knit flat. I really enjoy it. If you are a hand spinner, I would recommend trying this pattern for your hand spun. It's not hard, it's fun. I'm almost done with section 1, which is you start at this tiny tip of the triangle and you increase both sides, and once you're done with that, this is gonna get sewn to another piece, and then I think of this as the top where the I-cord is. So yeah, this like ends, and then you knit flat one piece. I think it's a pentagon. It's like across the top, down the sides, and then a point here, but you don't knit it flat like this and then like a point. You knit it on the bias, so like this way down, and then like they both decrease, which is very funky. So if I run out of this, I've got some green barber pole yarn. It'll fade into that, and that'll be fun, and I'm not really fussed. I think it's more fun to just play. Playing is always fun. Or I could spin some more yarn. Why not? Play with your stuff. Don't be fussed, especially with hand spun. That's kind of one of the ways that I'm just bringing like joy and like, you know, spontaneity into my life, is just playing with stuff with hand spun and just saying, go for it. Life is too short not to just do it. So maybe I'll bring this to Albuquerque. God knows. Actually, this would be a good project because it's small. Only has 2 skeins. But there's still a lot of knitting in it, and it would be fun. So you'll find out like next week, because I'll be in Albuquerque on Saturday, so I probably won't film for like a week until next Monday. So it'll be like 9 days, maybe 9 to 10 days before I film again. So you'll see what I do there when I'm there, after I'm back. So let's talk about my next cast on. So I'm gonna knit I'm gonna test knit. It's late to be getting into this test knit, but it's me and I knit like the wind. I could probably knit this thing in a weekend if I wanted to. I won't, because I gotta do church music tomorrow, but I am gonna test knit Corrine's new design for the Lily Thistle, the Dunrobin sweater, I think it's just gonna call it. The turtleneck she's knitting, or she's knitted, and it's in testing right now. This is my bag of Lopi scraps, and the sun is hitting it so that you can't really see all the colors in it. But I have a lot of Let Lopi scraps, and I've decided to knit this in Let Lopi scraps. It is gonna be striped with one main color, and then I'm gonna like insert a stripe between each one. It's gonna be so hard to see. I'm just gonna open this. The main color that I stripe is gonna be Galaxy, which is like a very dark, it's black, but it's heathered with like random beautiful things like teal and bright purple. It's really subtle. I knitted a sweater for my friend Kelly in this as the main color. It's like a yoke sweater with skull snowflakes, St. Nicholas snowflakes with skulls inside, because she loves like gothic stuff. Anyway, this is gonna be like every other stripe is gonna be this, and then it's gonna be with like random rainbow stripes, which is gonna be really fun. So that's a project for later. I don't want to talk too much about it just because I haven't even started it, but I'll show it. And it's on big needles, so I think it's gonna fly. I love knitting with Lopi. I find it just flies off my needles. I might put steeks in it just for an added challenge because I don't like knitting flat if I'm knitting everything else in the round, but that's just me. I am crazy. So let's talk about spinning. Okay, so I finished the 3-ply of Shetland spin that I was working on last week. It is purples and magentas and a little bit gray. I think this is fabulous. I am really, really pleased with how it turned out. It's got some nice bounce. It smells good because I washed it with Jasmine Wool Wash. The yardage was good. It's just over 300 yards, and it's about 100 grams. It weighs about 100 grams, so that's great. It's a sport weight 3-ply. That's kind of as anticipated for the yardage. I will probably make socks with this because it's a 3-ply, but I'm not positive. I just think it's really fun. Again, it's Shetland. It was a, I think it's from BZB. I'll link her shop in the show notes. Okay. Yeah, that's a loose skein, but there we go. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. It was not hard to spin, really. As Sarah would say, skinty singles. It was not hard to do that. Then, okay, so last week you saw a bunch of my random like things I was dyeing. So one of the things I was dyeing was this big piece of Charolais yarn that I just had left from like a bigger spin. I dyed it and then I spun it immediately. Same colors, like so similar. You can see here. This, I actually didn't use the same dyes though. Like this was with Cabernet and Blued Steel. This is with like deep purple and magenta. So 2 different sets of dye, but really created really similar colorways. This I spun on the wheel. The wheel was having some issues with the drive band. It kept popping off. I put a new drive band on it, then that one came untied. The Charolais was just like, I don't know, it's so springy. But yeah, the first bobbin gave me a ton of grief. Like it kept breaking, and then I like set it aside, and then when did I come back to it? Like, I don't know, Wednesday evening or something, I came back to it. and I came home from work and I just started spinning and I couldn't stop. Like at the wheel, I finished the first bobbin, it spun the whole second bobbin, made dinner. Then I plied it. I should have waited to ply it. But then when I was plying it, I was playing it on the wheel, and that's when the drive band came untied. So I tried to retie it, didn't work. I gotta just do a new one. I finished plying it on the e-spinner, which was fine, and then I just like needle felted. I spit spliced the ends together, which was not a problem. This is not. I'm not holding it still. There you go. So this is not as even as most of my spins because the first bobbin was just like very difficult for me to just get a handle on the spinning part. I find this to be common. Like I'll have trouble with the first bit, I'll stop, I'll come back to it, and then it's like nothing is a problem. It just takes a while to adjust to a new fiber, I think, that you're not really accustomed to spinning. And also just like the merit of taking a break. I don't know, people don't talk enough about the merit of taking a break. Take a break. If it's too hard, if it's something that's frustrating you, come away, even for 5 minutes, just step away, let your focus drift, go somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah, this is fun. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Someone was over while I was spinning this and she said, "What are you gonna make with that? Is it for socks?" And I said, "I don't even know." There's like 75 grams and like 300 yards on it. If you have suggestions, I'll take them. Again, I'm gonna design a fingerless mitts pattern for like some hand spun, like a sport-ish weight. I could be with it, like a DK sport fingering weight, whatever. And maybe I'll knit those, but that would not take the whole skein. So, you know, it could be a sweater yoke, it could be anything. I bought that pattern by Tiff Nealon, the really pretty one with like the really simple yoke. And I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, but I'll try to put it up there if I remember it. Oh, what's it called? Maggie just knitted it like kind of recently. And it's really simple. Anyway, I will link it. And I'm thinking of knitting that with like a plain main color. Probably like mill spun yarn, not me spun yarn. Okay, and I started spinning the green BFL. So if you'll remember from last week, if you watched that, I dyed like a pound of green BFL, and it's all kind of very tonally, like avocado-y color. Mixed BFL, so the brown is is just combed in there naturally. It smells good, and it's super soft. Not really very felted. I was very excited that it didn't really felt. Yay, good go me. Did a good job with it, with not touching it too much while it was in the bath. And I started spinning it. So I'm just gonna spin 2 giant bobbins on my EEW and then ply them together because these are 8-ounce bobbins. So I think I'm just gonna spin a full bobbin, spin another full bobbin. If there's still yarn wool left over, just keep it for a while. Might not need to spin it into the yarn. And then spin it all up, ply it all up, see what I get, and knit a nurtured sweater with it. And I am going to probably have to adjust the gauge because I don't think this will be a worsted weight yarn. It might be if I did a 3-ply, but I'm not doing a 3-ply. I won't have enough wool to do a 3-ply with enough yardage, probably. So I'm doing a 2-ply. As you can see, there's lots of nice tonality in this yarn, but it's very scattered because the wool itself all was in one pot. So there might be some fun pooling. I don't care. I'm gonna gauge swatch whatever I have for the yarn at the end of the day, and the nurtured sweater I can just adjust because it's a raglan sweater. I'm gonna knit it in pieces, and I'm just gonna have fun with it. I was thinking of doing it for the March to May knit along for Andrea Mowry's March to May cowl, but it won't be. I don't think I'll spin and knit the whole thing in that short of a time span when I have other projects going, both spinning and knitting. So. But you can use whips for that, so I might just enter this guy. I always say I'm gonna participate in cowls, but I don't actually ever have the follow through to like remember to post my finished photo or like remember to actually finish something. For me, that's not what knitting is about. It is fun to have the community of a cowl like on Ravelry though, or Instagram, and like see hashtags and stuff. But for me, knitting is about joy for myself, not about winning a prize. So yeah, if I like see a cowl, sometimes I'll enter it because like I have something that I've finished in that time frame or whatever. But it's more about the joy of knitting for me than winning stuff. Knitting isn't about getting free things and getting accolades. It's about creating a community that's meaningful and keeping people warm. So, I mean, everybody has reasons, different reasons for knitting, but yeah, I mostly knit for other people, and I like to knit for people I love. And I like to knit because it keeps me sane. And that's pretty much all for today. It's been a lot, lots going on. I need to rest my voice because I have to sing tomorrow. I'm going to sing in a mask tomorrow. That's what you do. If you're sick, you put a mask on. It's normal. I used to sing sick without a mask all the time, and I'm like, ew, that's gross. I probably got so many colds from other people in my choirs because we would sing without masks. Might do some spinning. Might have a little crafternoon with some friends, watch some movies, wear a mask if you're me, because I don't want to touch my face and then get them sick. Yeah, just have a chill Saturday. So that's all. If you have any questions, let me know. Oh, I meant to address some of those things from last time. I will try and do it next time if I remember. Oh my gosh, I'll try so hard to remember to do that. At the end, and yeah, if you have questions, send them in. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.